After a sharp 10% drop in early morning trades, shares of PB Fintech made an impressive comeback, erasing all losses and closing 1% higher. So what triggered the initial crash and why did the stock eventually recover? Well, it all started with PB Fintech announcing plans to explore the healthcare space by launching its own hospitals. The company, which owns Policy Bazaar, explained in its filing that aligning the interest of insurers and hospitals could significantly improve the claims experience for customers. But the idea of bringing both the insurer and the hospital under one roof is not new. Just a few months ago, Narayana Health, led by Devi Shetty, took the opposite route, expanding from healthcare into the insurance business. If you're curious about Narayana Health's insurance plan, we have got a video that breaks it all down. Check the link in the description below. Now the big question, what does this mean for PB Fintech? Could this new healthcare venture disrupt its rally, or will it give it another boost from here on? To break it all down, we have Amar Deo Singh, Senior Vice President of Research at Angel One, joining us. Amar, thank you for giving us time here on News9. Now, it seemed that the market initially wasn't too impressed with PB Fintech's decision to enter the hospital business, but as the day progressed, not only were the losses recovered, the stock managed to end in the green with gains of about 1%. What are your initial thoughts about this new venture PB Fintech is planning to undertake?
So if we look at PB Fintech, see the company definitely has got a lot of experience there in the insurance space, and they have built a very strong brand, and at the same time, a significant chunk of their business is majorly online, and they have the expertise. They've also had a lot of learnings which they can leverage going into the new model, which they are expected to announce soon. So I think that's more of a, you can say, there's something called forward integration, there's something called backward integration. So they are also looking at how they can capitalize on their learnings, on their experiences, and also if they can take it up the value chain and get into other businesses. Because if we look at the overall healthcare space in India, that is expected to grow to almost $320 billion by 2028, and currently it's around 180 at the end of FY23. And also, if you look at the healthcare insurance, so there also the CAGR is close to almost 12%, 13%. So expected to grow at that rate for the next at least 5 years or so, or maybe even higher. So there is this huge opportunity in either of the spaces, and there is this opportunity that this market insurance space, healthcare insurance space itself will grow significantly over the next 10 years or so.
All right, Amar, you mentioned that both industries, insurance and healthcare, are under-penetrated in India. Now, not many Indians have health coverage, and there is an insufficient number of hospital beds in the country too. Now, just a few months ago, Devi Shetty of Narayana Health announced that they were entering the insurance business. PB Fintech is taking the opposite route, moving from insurance to hospitals. So, in your view, which is easier, for a hospital to enter the insurance business or vice versa?
I would say neither is easy. It's always easier said than done, because see, what happens is that you have experience, you have understanding, you have the expertise in a certain specific area. So, for example, running hospitals. So that's a completely different universe as compared to the insurance space, which PB Fintech is into. So Policy Bazaar. So they are, and they going into this model. So it's, I wouldn't say, I would say that it's not going to be easy for either of them. It's so because both of them, because if you look at from the hospital sector moving into the insurance space, again, you require a different sort of knowledge, expertise, and the right people. And secondly, moving from this insurance space into the hospital, because that's more of a physical venture. But see, if either of them can execute it well, that is the $1 million question. If they're able to execute it, see, ideation is one thing, but execution is the key. Right. So in case they are able to execute it, and this is also something, execution won't happen overnight. At least you will have to give them 3 to 5 years. So that's the gestation period they'll have to have, and also they'll have to invest money and continuous sums of money will need to be invested in both of these ventures which they are planning to get into. And having the most important, having the right people. And secondly, the market supporting. That is also is very important. But overall, if you see, there is a lot of opportunity in both the segments in the hospital space as well as in the insurance space, because we are under-penetrated and we are less covered in either spaces. So definitely we wish them luck that if they are thinking on these lines, because we definitely require corporates coming into the space. The more competition you have, ultimately, if the consumer is benefiting in either of these segments and spaces, there's nothing wrong to it. So we'll have to wait and watch out how they are able to leverage their current existing strength, because both have a name in their respective segments. So we'll have to watch out for that.
Now, we have been talking about forward and backward integration. Do you think it's a smart business model? Could other companies in the industry, in either industries for that matter, follow suit? And if so, what might be some of the potential challenges that they may face?
So see, here I would definitely sound a bit of caution, because if for example the Devi Shetty group is into hospitals, and there is huge opportunity there, so and their strengths are in that area, so why don't they capitalize on that and expand in that rather than get into another segment where they really don't have that expertise? So what is that? What is that trigger which has really motivated them to come to this? Because it's a completely different segment. So what happens is sometimes when the companies are doing quite well in terms of their growth aspects, and they are doing better than what they had expected, the management feels that the company is doing far better than what their earlier expectations were there. Then many companies get into this diversifying mode, which is in unrelated areas. So I would say that both of these are unrelated. Overall, it is the healthcare, but they are not in any way related. For example, a pharmaceutical company manufacturing basic pharmaceuticals and then moving to some other mid value or higher value is more of a forward integration up the value chain. But here it is the overall ecosystem is there, because you've got healthcare insurance, you've got the hospitals. So these are part of the overall ecosystem, but they are very different and divergent. So companies that get into this sort of diversification, most of them really have trouble going 3 to 5 years down the line, or maybe 2 to 3 years, because managing both of them is a very different ball game altogether. It's just like the game of cricket versus the game of soccer. Rules are very different. The strategies are very different. Implementation, execution is very different. So it's not going to be easy, definitely, for either of them. But the thing is that so they'll have to really think it very seriously and then get into it. Because many a time companies making profits, they try to get into ventures which are really not required for them to get into, and then they end up shutting down those ventures a couple of years down the line.
All right, point taken. Now, whether Narayana Health or PB Fintech benefits from this venture, I mean, only time will tell, I guess. But the end consumer could certainly gain, as there's often a lag between the hospital, paying the hospital and recovering the money from the insurance company, not to mention the uncertainty involved. Do you think that bringing the hospital and insurance business under one roof could improve this situation, resulting in more Indians taking health coverage?
See, for example, what we are seeing currently is that if you look at the state governments, many of the state governments, the central government have also come out with different schemes covering various age groups in the insurance, I would say, space. Because in India, we've got a significant percentage of people who are not insured. But now with the government coming out with insurance plans for even the senior citizens, so that brings that entire population under the insurance space, but that's more from a government perspective. At the same time, what is happening is that with the cost of the hospitals, cost of I would say the treatment in the hospitals, that has been increasing at a very fast pace. So those who are, I would say, people are realizing that they also need to have a private insurance. So because the government insurance could only be till an X amount, and so maybe 5 lakhs or whatever. So for higher, if you want to go in for better treatment, you might have to many times of that. So in that case, private, I would say, insurance players there, they stand out wherein they have got their different health insurance plans and schemes are there. And both of these are actually, if you look at the hospital industry and the health insurance, they are both tied very closely. I think that's the reason or the trigger which is leading to both these companies deciding to go either ways. So having said that, both of the sector, health insurance as well as the hospital sector, they have a very bright future, no doubt about it. But ultimately, whether the bright future is bright for the end consumer is that something that we'll have to watch out for in terms of whether the costs come down or the costs really don't come up and the costs continue to spiral. So these are, I would say, areas where we really can't say right now whether the prices or players getting into this sort of model would lead to a price reduction very early to say for anyone for that matter. But we should hope that maybe that could give some solace or some benefit or at least some margin reduction to the end consumer, ultimately the patient.